So if you feel she's doing a very beautiful job, her English is Englishing, help me celebrate her one more time. It's an honor. I understand I have 30 minutes. I'll try to be as condensed, as straightforward to the point as I can be. But I'm really excited to be here today. I celebrate all of you, medical students. If you're happy to be in medicine, College of Health generally, can you make some noise? So it's great to be here, and I want to join the previous speakers to appreciate the organizers and the to-be speakers to appreciate the organizers of this event. For me, this is the highlight of it, that a set of people can come together to make this happen says a lot to me, and that the set of people who came together were one man and many ladies. And I saw the intentionality, I saw the resolve, but also the large heart with which this came on board. So if there is anything, I'd like us to join me in celebrating the team that put this together. You guys are doing well. And let me just share a bit of my sentiments before I continue. Don't worry, you're going to be blessed today because even I was blessed by those notes. So you're going to be blessed by it. But I just want to ensure that I do justice to all the things we need to do justice to. So I have noticed while I was at Iwo that there was something very, very peculiar about medical students. And I felt today would be a very good ground to let it know. Whenever I look at students of Lower University and I see their levels of commitment to events on campus and fellowship activities, I tend to see a bit of extra intentionality in medical students. And it wasn't just a Bowen thing. I saw it in Unijos, I saw it at the University of Ibadan. And one day I sat back and asked myself, I said, what could be the reason for this intentionality? About God, about things related to purpose and things like that. You know what came to my mind? I said, it seems that they are the only set of students who have been exposed to cadavers. And I think that cadavers have something to do to human beings. They make you travel to the end of life and come back to life and see the finitude of life and the futility of life. So they don't get so serious. The rest of us are playing around and but they seem to know that in a breath, this life can go. So I want to celebrate your intentionality and your devotion to impact. God bless you. So today, I'm here to talk about purpose. I'm sure this is not your first time of listening to a talk on purpose. This is not the first time you've heard the word purpose. But I want to assure you that there is something we can learn about purpose. To begin with, I'd like to call your attention to something you probably may have known but may not have paid deep attention to. And that is the word understanding. How many of us have heard the word understanding before? Help me wave your hand. I want this to be as participatory as possible. Help me wave it properly. Thank you. Now, I hope that beyond hearing the word, you have an idea of what the word means. In my world, understanding is the difference between the man who is excelling and the man who is not excelling. The man who is getting results and the man who is not getting results. The woman who is having good feedbacks from life versus the woman who is not having good feedbacks from life. And that's the premise I want to start off with, understanding. Let me move deeper into the word as I start answering the question of purpose. Do you know that there is a difference between information and revelation? Information can be acquired by anybody. I can read my way into information. I can be socialized into information. I can groom by conversation into information. But to have understanding is a little extra. It takes a little extra. Understanding is spiritual. And I can take you on a trip into the Bible where words like that were mentioned. Let's go, for instance, to Psalm 119. It says that the entrance of his word gives light and understanding to the simple, meaning the source of understanding is the word. If I'm going to understand purpose or come at purpose, I should not come from the gate of information. I should come from the gate of revelation. And the key to that is understanding. This is because we want to look at purpose. But at different junctions and chapters of your your life, you cannot afford to underestimate the word understanding. Now, this brings me to the second part of understanding, which is LSMP. L, laws. S, secrets. P, principles. M, mysteries. There are laws, secrets, principles, and mysteries governing every aspect of life. That if you don't approach it with understanding, you can't get a feedback from it. You cannot be a winner at it. You cannot have dominion in it. You'll just be a fellow race runner. So I want to ask you before we continue, what currency do you run with? Information or understanding? Understanding gets you more. I want us to address the question of purpose today from the lens of understanding. When understanding happens to you, then something goes different with your life. And people ask, how you get to the same results? We attended Bowen University together, we're graduating together, but you seem to have aggregated results beyond medicine, beyond nursing, beyond physiotherapy, and you tell them, I had understanding. And that same thing will open me to other doors. So I want to ask you a question. How have you been pursuing the things you've been pursuing? Yes, purpose is popular, the pursuit of purpose is popular. So many people have talked about purpose, and today we're still going to be talking about it. But no matter how much we talk about purpose, no matter how much you read into purpose, you can really not know purpose except you address it by understanding. So I pray today that in all your striving for purpose, to know purpose, you will also find understanding. It is spiritual, and because God is spirit, those of us who get understanding from Him must come spiritually. So there is no saying, I'm not a Christian, I don't do life spiritually. All those church people, you're already declaring your distance from understanding and therefore from answers. Now purpose. So I'm going to be talking about purpose in regard to 4 or so items. I have about 7 of them, but I was told I have 30 minutes, so I'll try to split my conversations for now to the panel session. Whatever I'm able to cover, I'll do my best to cover, but I want you to pay due attention to what I'm going to say and x-ray your life as we go on. Definition, that's the first thing I'm going to talk about, definition. For me, one of the roads into purpose, so if you want to title what I'm going to talk about, the roads into purpose, the gates into purpose, or the pathways into purpose. The first is definition. You cannot begin to struggle, fight for, run after purpose if you have not answered the question of who am I? Your definition. Who am I? A lot of people are running around in life in the name of finding purpose too without definition. If I call one of you to stand up and I give you the microphone and I say, who are you? Without mentioning my family background, my course of study, what is your definition? Royalty. Stephanie, Ayo, I call you to stand up. What is your definition of you? In 3 sentences. Do you have an answer to that? So isn't it surprising that many of us are just gambling at life? If you have not defined who you are properly, your attempt at life will be experimental. You won't have precision. So let's handle the question of definition. Who am I? To answer that question, I decided to go the way of the image. Let's take a travel to Genesis, and I want you to remove every familiarity, context, syndrome in you. Take everything I'm going to say as if you're hearing it for the first time, and you're going to have understanding from it. In Genesis chapter 1, between verse 26 and 28, if you can paraphrase, let's go together. And God said, let us make man in our image. I will take that sentence again. Let us make man in our image and likeness. What is the meaning of image and likeness? If that is who you are, what are the characteristics of that? So I cannot define myself outside that. That's the genesis of my definition of me. So in my world, I have the following words: limitless, boundless, limitless, boundless, borderless, limitless, boundless, borderless. Number 1. Number 2, I call it what I call the law of prototype. Several information that I was able to get from the Holy Spirit when I was preparing for this and when I do my writings to my team, the fruit bearers. God was teaching me from Genesis. I read Genesis for 2 years and you'll be amazed how many things I discovered in that same chapter. I realized you can be an inventor from Genesis 1 if you understand the principles. The Genesis definition of me, image, says, and he created him in his image and in his likeness. And the latter part of verse 28 says, to rule over. If anything will characterize me, I should rule over. Then fruitful, multiply, increase. If I look at you, the 4 things I should instantly see in you, if you are in likeness of God, is to be fruitful. Am I bearing fruit? Are there results, enlargement? So ask yourself, how many fruits do you have as we speak that indicates that you are the likeness of God? Now, I'll come back to our explanation, but I'll take some real life examples and I'll ask you some questions very, very quickly. Apart from the fact that the image of God is symbolic, I want to give this question. What are the pictures you have of yourself that you paint of yourself when you are thinking of your name, who you are? What are the pictures that come to mind? Let me give you context to these pictures. How we state our aspirations, what I want to be. What does it say about your definition of me? I hear comments like, let's go practical. Gen Z's, me said, I'll blow. I want to write a comment that will hit. I want to drop a content that will hit. I hear today everybody studying the algorithm of Instagram so that I will know how I post. That's number one. My question is, why is your starting point the algorithm? Did you realize somebody created the Instagram that has the algorithm and the starting point of your definition is the algorithm? I want to blow. That's the first that you think of yourself. Now relate that to the other dreams that you have, the other aspirations that you have. Does that look like the likeness of God? Does that look like how the likeness of God will think? It's not bad. Okay, I was having a conversation with Alexandra and Chinaza in Wales. When we come to school like this, our aspiration is to be at best BGS. What's BGS?
Best graduating student, right? Healthy as that sounds, beautiful and harmless as it looks. Do you know that if you have understanding, there's something you start to see? Now, let me say this. I say understanding helps you move from looking to seeing. Everybody looks, but not everybody sees. Everybody looks, but not everybody sees. Ability to see is a function of understanding. Now, when we look at what we're talking about, BGS, somebody invented a school system. Somebody invented a school system. Somebody invented a school system, and you are consuming the curriculum. I am consuming the curriculum. That's beautiful. That's not bad. We all have to be educated. We all have to have common sense, rational thinking, address life rationally. But is that all there is to you? Do you know in God's world, in God's book, when we strive to be BGS, do you know the name we're going to have? Best at consumption. Somebody invented it. You're consuming it. You are best at it. Means you are best at what? Consumption. But in God's book, there are 2 dimensions to you. There is the creator dimension and there is the consumer dimension. But when you read your manual about you, the first part of you is the creator part. I want to appeal to you as we're taking this travel. Can you begin to look at yourself not just as a consumer, not just as a user? Some create, some are using. Some initiate, some are puppets to what has been initiated. So I want to ask you this question. Are you here as a puppet or as an initiator? All through your days in Ogbomoso since you came, what has come from you? Have you been here consuming and best at consuming in different chapters of life? What is God's reaction to your attitude towards the pictures you form about you? So what are the pictures? In terms of what do you build your imaginations about yourself? So there are consumers, there are builders. There are initiators, there are puppets. There are creators, there are users. And funny how when we graduate from here, we all spend the same number of years. We all spend the same number of hours. We went to classes together. And when we leave the Bowen University gates, the results we are going to be standing with will be different. I have people sitting here who have won different awards, who are doing different things, who have founded different things. And I still have people who, at best, what we are known for is, I go to the library, I read, and I finish, and I'm going to have a certificate. Is that all there is to you in God's book? I will tell you the story of Tolu. Tolu was my set mate at the University of Ibadan. And one day, something struck me when she spoke to me. What did she say? Tolu said, Abel, do you know my dream? I said, what's your dream? Backstory, Tolu is a beautiful singer. Very beautiful. Since my childhood, I never met someone who sang with such sonorous voice as that of Tolu. And in my mind, I was seeing someone who could be one of those founders of a music industry who is going to raise, whenever we're going to have an impossible pitch to sing in choir, Tolu was the next consideration. Then I was shocked when she stated an aspiration. She said, do you know who I want to be, what I want to be? I said, what? She now said, I want to be one of the backup singers of Donny McLaughlin. How many of us know Donny McLaughlin? Yes, he's one of those early singers. Only a few of us will know him. But he was very popular. And then I was asking myself, wait, does Tolu really know who she is? She didn't know. From my own mind's eyes and the pictures I was forming, the instant thing I see in Tolu is a star. But she didn't see herself like that. Tolu is an example. I'm probably talking about you. The pictures you formed about yourself, of the I can do's, I can't do. What can come from me, what can't come from me. Where are you forming them from? Are you coming from the volume of the books written about you, or from the pictures that earth gave about you? This is worrisome. When I see young people who are not chasing after purpose, it worries me because you see the signs. Let me give you an instance. What are the signs? Prostitute information system. So I check your status and I see a famous catchy punchline quote from X. I see one today, I see another one tomorrow, and I'm asking, who is this person? Where do you really belong? Do you know many of us, because we have lacked that sense of definition, everything that looks like a punchline has become our convictions, our beliefs, our values. So when we ask you what is your value, at best you are chameleonic. Chameleonic. That's a word I invented for anybody who looks like where they are, what is going on, what is reigning, what's in vogue. At the risk of stretching too much on this point, I'd like to ask you the following questions. When you look at David at Elah, David, the guy who killed Goliath, what picture do you see? This guy was in the wilderness. He showed up that day and he stood like this. And there was a Goliath standing. And there were military officers who were standing on that day. And there were people who had been fighting battles since they were kids. This guy was supposed to come and drop food for his elder brothers and keep them with the keeper of supplies. And when he showed up, what was the first thing he said? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine? What were they saying before he came? You may have known that story. It's not about memorizing it. It's about asking, what are you seeing from this story? They were saying, he's coming at us again. And the Bible said every time he spoke up, they retreated, including the ultimate King Saul. What made David say the things he said? He was operating a different definition of himself. He was coming from godlikeness. I cannot be here and I'm hearing nonsense about my God. I'll defend him. I know who I am. Then they were asking him questions. Suddenly he gave his biography. I have killed. You think I can't? I have killed. That was the confidence. He had experienced and understanding about life, that it's not about military training. It's about what's on you. It's not about the environment, the comments, the commentaries, the opinions, the reactions, the remarks. It's about what I carry and who I am and where I come from and what I operate by. Some of you are scared of undertaking big things because your definition of you starts from what daddy said, mommy said. And that leads me to asking a very fundamental question. There are two voices, and that might be where I'll end on definition. Two voices guide how we define ourselves. One is VOT, the second is VOC. VOT is voice of truth. Voice of truth. What the word says about me, what my creator, my standard, my prototype talks about me. Then VOC, voice of culture. And other voice of culture, I have several voices. There is voice of bond. You may want to take note of this because I'm giving you a theory of self-definition so that when you go back, go and check and tick each one. Where do I pass? Voice of culture has voice of bond, my friends. Voice of blood, my family and close ties. Voice of systems, schools. Voice of experts. Voice of panels. I attended an audition. They said I can't do it. I started crying. I've seen people who attended BGT and they came, Dr. Abel, do you know what the panel said? They said my voice is useless. And I'm like, are you serious? And you're crying. The panel probably didn't even have the skill to judge the magnitude of what you carry. But because they call them panel, and what you see first is panel, you started accepting and you started crying. And some gave up because of what the panel said. Voice of school. The report card said that you failed and you had all C's. And because everybody goes to school, and you forgot that someone invented the school, that there are several measures that God has in life to measure what he designed us to be. You have accepted it, and you are now saying, because I always have C's, I am a failure. That is voice of system. And there are several systems that have said so many things about you. What voice is dictating your definition? Voice of culture, voice of truth. Voice of culture, voice of truth. Voice of bond, voice of blood, voice of expert, voice of panel. These are the four things I'm going to say very quickly. And I want you to listen to this. When you look at yourself and you want to go ahead with the definition of you, I'll give you four things that were common with God that should be common with you when we look at you. The first is capacity for thoughts. When you're defining yourself, remember you have a capacity for thoughts. Second, capacity for sight. Third, capacity for words. And fourth, capacity for deeds. The first is as a man thinketh. The second, as a man seeth. The third, as a man speaketh. And the fourth, as a man doeth. Can we run it together? Number one. I want everybody together. Number one. Number two. Number three. And number four. So number one, as a man thinketh, means that God has a capacity that is replicated in you as his likeness. God could think. That's why earth came into form. He said, and the spirit brooded over the waters. In what ways am I experiencing and exercising that capacity? That's thoughts. And let me give you, there are 7 or 8 or 9 corridors there. The first is meditation. The second is imagination. The third is conception. The fourth is ideation. The fifth is visualization, dreaming, and formation. These are things that happen with the capacity God has given you. So the Bible didn't say as a man is spoken to, so is his life. As a man's environment is. No, it said as a man thinketh. That's the Bible. It says guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it proceeds the issues of life. Everything I will be, automatically, if you read that verse not with information but with revelation, you'd realize that everything your life is reflecting now is a function of the operation of your mind. Everything you are not able to become is because your mind has programmed you away from becoming it. Everything you are becoming and achieving is a function of your mind. This is not motivation, this is scripture definition of you. Number 2 is sight. And I bring you the picture of the guys who visited Canaan. 12 people went. 2 people came back with a different report. They saw the same thing. They had 2 different conclusions, right? They said, we can't take it. Others said, no, we can't take it. The outcomes of their life were corresponding to the perspective they saw. How far do you see? The second part of sight is penetrativeness. That's when we move from looking to seeing. I call it the difference between sight and insight. Sight and insight. When you are praying to operate the capacity of your sight, ask God to give you understanding to move from looking to seeing. That was where all the inventions came from. You hear that someone was thinking and then suddenly he sat, George Washington Carver. Where did what he produced come from? Everybody had been using sweet potatoes. Everybody had been eating peanuts. For one thing, and then he came and he asked God, show me the secret of the universe. What did God say? Oh no, I can't show you the secret of the universe, but I'll show you the secret of what's in your hand. What's in your hand? He said, sweet potatoes. That was what he was researching on. And then God said, I'll show you the mysteries of sweet potatoes. He produced 250 products from sweet potatoes, and later about 150 products from peanuts. Why was there no discovery of those things before he came? Let me say this to you. This is the law of formation. At work in every created and existing thing are principles, laws, and secrets. When you have insight, God takes you from the surface of things to what lies beneath the surface of things. God takes you from the surface of things to what lies beneath the surface of things. God takes you from the surface of things to what lies beneath the surface of things. Everybody's saying students, you are seeing opportunities. That's insight. Everybody's seeing a classroom. You are seeing an avenue for enlargement, for impact. Let's move away from this linear way of working. So the first thing you discover in discovering purpose is your definition. And I'd like to end out with this. 3 words. Find your conviction. Find your beliefs and find your values. Then write your vision and write your mission. 5 assignments after today's program and event. I list them again. Find your what? Values, your beliefs, your convictions, your mission, and your vision. The last 2, I leave them to you. We'll find them out much later. The second thing I'm going to talk about is possession. Definition, possession. I hope my time is not already rounding up. Okay? Let me pick 1 more or 2 more. I'll just talk about them in 5 minutes and then I'll be done. I'll leave the rest for the panel session and if questions come around that. Let me not talk about possession. Let me talk about expression. Expression. So many people ask, what is the way to purpose? The way to purpose is not linear. Why we ask that question is we are thinking in terms of possession, not in terms of expression. I have this gift. I want to know my gift. That is possession. Expression says, I don't need to figure to move. I move figuring. Expression means that I should not be thinking of what is my purpose. God didn't design you to look for your purpose. God designed you to shine as light. How can I shine as light? Anywhere I am, I'm going to take the opportunity I have. I'll give you 3 words. Number 1, service. Number 2, resourcefulness. And number 3, service, resourcefulness, and Holy Spirit, help me. Where's number 3? The people standing behind me are, okay? Service, resourcefulness, and planting. Thank you. Planting. When I say planting, there are 2 gates to acquiring in God's world. There is asking to acquire, but there is planting to acquire. What you get when you ask, when your way of finding purpose is asking, is you're going to get a portion. But when you find purpose by planting, you get a harvest. So what do I mean? When you get to a place, the first thing you say, what can I serve? How can I serve? A person got a policy scholarship because he was serving in a house fellowship. House fellowship. And the opposite of expression is expectation, entitlement. I hope you analyze yourself between these 2. If you're not serving, you are expecting them to serve you. And people like that don't move far. Opportunities don't come to them. When they give you a business opportunity, say, what's in it for me? Instead of, how can I be of value to them? Are we together? So 3 things. What are they? Service. Yeah, there are 2 others. I've remembered them, but because of time. And I have 2 minutes from my 5 minutes now. The last thing I'm going to say, let me pick one other, is going to be impact and legacy. Impact and legacy. There is a rider for this. Impact and legacy. If you want to find purpose and you discover your purpose, Note, 5 minutes is too much for impact. 5 minutes is too much for impact. Whenever you think impact in terms of that God designed me with so much resources to deliver to the world, to change lives, then you know that 5 minutes is too much. Then I'll give you some letters. Write these letters and fill it in. I'll run them down in the next 1 minute, 0.2 seconds. If you want to live a life of impact and 5 minutes is too much, it means everywhere I go, I'm thinking, what can I do? Even if it's 5 minutes, I enter a hospital, I helped carry someone, I helped give a compliment. Number 1, C. C, letter C. How can I change lives? H. How can I help people? I. How can I influence others for good? I. How can I impact people in this environment? S. How can I solve problems? Solve problems. T. How can I touch lives? A. How can I add value? Add value. Add value. Change lives, help lives, influence lives, impact lives, solve problems, touch lives, add value. If you are like that, if you enter any space and you spend 5 minutes, you change lives. And then they discover that this person has been changing lives. All of the stories of the people in the Bible that we call purpose-driven. I end with this. Let me ask you this question. Jesus was supposed to, the purpose of Jesus, right? An assignment was to save lives, right? Salvation. What did he start as? Carpenter. Is that not shocking to you? God uses the mundane things. Everything in God's book is usable. Romans 8:28. He works everything out for the good of them that love him and are called according to his purpose. In God's universe, everything is usable and convertible to bring you into his plan. Everything is usable and convertible to bring you into his plan. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. I'm sure that we'll have more to learn in the coming hours. God bless you and thank you very much.